Power creep is a real thing, both in the world of comics and on the big screen. We always want to see the biggest, strongest heroes. Except when they get too big or strong. But despite the best efforts of film execs everywhere, there are some heroes with powers that make them stand or levitate miles above their peers. This might be the first time you hear us say this, but forget about the comic books, at least for the next 10 minutes, because we are going to go over our picks for the strongest movie superheroes of all time. Superman may be able to pass as a human with the help of a pair of glasses, but let's not forget that he's actually an incredibly powerful alien being. Not only is he known for being virtuous to a fault, but he's pretty much only vulnerable to kryptonite, and most criminals don't have that stuff hanging around. In Superman the movie, our hero failed to save Lois Lane, but instead of flying away from his feelings, he flew around the world so fast that time reversed. We really want to see what Smart Hulk's face would look like in Avengers Endgame if somebody suggested that method of time travel. According to students at the University of Leicester, to reverse the spin of the Earth, you'd have to travel 660 million miles per hour, or at almost the speed of light. And Superman is still stupid powerful in newer movies as well. Just look at how much he dwarfs his peers in the Justice League movie. That film was based on the premise of a superhero team, but Superman's so powerful that it seems like he could have just done the whole movie solo. If only he had the power to fix all that bad mustache CGI. In the beginning of Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers was working on controlling her considerable superpowers by finding her inner strength. Well, not only did she learn that she's tough on the inside, but she found that she's pretty OP on the outside as well. Come on, she punched a spaceship apart with her fists. We know she was on important space business during Avengers Endgame, which explained why she wasn't around for most of the movie, but come on! The real reason Marvel had her off getting haircuts across the galaxy was that she would have put everyone else's powers to shame. She probably could have just pulled a Superman and spun the world around a few times instead of having to mess with Pym particles. And when she did finally show up to fight Thanos, she really let the guy have it. Yeah, he was able to land a serious blow, but that was really thanks to the Power Stone. Since Carol got her powers from the Space Stone, it kinda makes sense that two Infinity Stones would cancel each other out. The Kree are known for being powerful, but it certainly seems like their empire is in trouble, since Captain Marvel wants them to answer for their crimes. Everybody knows that Thor Odin's son is a strong guy. He's physically strong and he has access to incredibly powerful magical weaponry. But honestly, the reason everybody loves Thor so much isn't just because he finally set Thanos' head flying, even though we really liked that part. No, it's because he's been, well, to hella and back, and he's still worthy. Okay, so we're not trying to get too sappy here, but this guy lost his whole family quite horrifically, and then his home was fried to a crisp. He went through a low period after that, but he returned triumphantly, and that's no easy feat. Plus, in terms of powers, Thor's hard to beat. Don't forget that he can throw lightning around whenever he wants. And don't tell Hulk that we said this, but Thor would have absolutely annihilated him during Ragnarok if the Grandmaster hadn't stepped in to protect his champion. Not only did he manage to master his considerable powers, but he also gained a wisdom and maturity that the Thor from the first movie could have only dreamed of. Now he's someone that the Guardians of the Galaxy would willingly follow. Well, most of them. We know we just said that Thor would have defeated Hulk if he wasn't interrupted in Ragnarok, and we stand by it. But that doesn't mean that the Incredible Hulk isn't one of the strongest heroes of all time. He crushed a puny god in the Avengers and got almost crushed by a strong one in Ragnarok, so it kind of evens out. Thanos did kind of make him look weak during Infinity War when it appeared that he punched him back into Bruce Banner. But of course we all know that the Hulk wasn't really beaten, he just made a strategic defeat in order to let Banner deal with his own problems. If anything, it weirdly showed a kind of maturity, since the old Hulk didn't seem able to develop any kind of strategy outside of random smashinating. Although we haven't seen Smart Hulk since Avengers Endgame, he could end up being an even more impressive warrior now. He's got the raw, brute strength of the Incredible Hulk, but the much smarter brain of Bruce Banner. This means he could potentially save the day without endangering tons of innocent civilians. Hulk's unpredictability has really been his greatest weakness, but it seems as though that won't be a problem anymore, at least for now. In Avengers Endgame, Captain Marvel appeared to come out of nowhere to save Tony Stark just in the nick of time, and while we won't bother rehashing the whole plot of that movie, just keep in mind that he has a pretty important part of undoing the decimation and defeating Thanos. And Wonder Woman had a similar entrance to the DCEU. She flew onto the scene in Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice when the titular heroes just could not get the job done on their own. Sure, she wasn't the one who finally took down Lex Luthor's monster, but she did arrive on the scene just in time to render some aid. In her standalone movie, Diana is also portrayed as being incredibly yoked. And she managed to be the focus of a DC movie that wasn't a total box office flop. That might just be the most impressive superpower of all. At least where movie heroes are concerned. She might need some help navigating the human world from time to time, but let's not forget she's an immortal Amazon warrior goddess. Doctor Strange may not be the most warm and fuzzy hero in the MCU, but there's no denying that he's one of the most powerful. In fact, one of the things that makes him so impressive is how fast he went from being an injured, out-of-work surgeon with an anger problem to being an ultra-powerful sorcerer. It took our boy Harry Potter years of magical study to be able to take down Voldemort, and Doctor Strange mastered the mystic arts in no time at all. Not only did he get good at using his sling ring, he quickly progressed to insanely powerful magical items like the Cloak of Levitation and the Eye of Agamotto. Not everybody in the MCU can use an Infinity Stone, let alone a subtly powerful one like the Time Stone, but Doctor Strange made that stuff look easy. He's got incredible magic powers, but he's also somebody who ain't afraid to make tough choices, and that is another form of strength that deserves mention. During Infinity War, he straight up said he would happily watch Tony Stark and Peter Parker get crushed into a fine red mist if it meant keeping the Time Stone away from Thanos. We have no doubt he meant it, and the only reason he handed it over was because he was looking ahead towards the endgame. Hey, that's the name of the next movie. Wanda Maximoff's portrayal in the MCU has been pretty interesting to say the least. Since Marvel Studios couldn't use the phrase mutant back in Avengers Age of Ultron, her incredible powers were explained by the use of the Mind Stone instead. But even though her backstory was altered, she's still one of the most potent heroes in the MCU, even if she hasn't really gotten her fair share of screen time. But during Endgame, we finally got to see a glimpse of just how OP she can be when she went up against Thanos all full of rage and energy blasts and stuff. Even Marvel Studios head Kevin Feige says that the Scarlet Witch could have taken down Thanos in a one-on-one match, but, since the Mad Titan showed up with a literal army, she did need a little bit of backup. With the movie Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness and the show WandaVision coming in Phase 4, we expect to see even more of her considerable powers. In the comic books, Wanda is as strong as her mental health is precarious, and it's an entertaining and occasionally devastating mix. The MCU has been hinting at the maximum power of Maximoff for quite some time, and we're ready to really see her go all out. Things are rough when even wizards are out there looking for champions. In the movie Shazam, Billy Batson saves his foster brother from bullies and ends up with the ability to turn into a grown-up superhero. So kinda like a Big starring Tom Hanks scenario, but with way more superpowers. In many ways, his powers are on par with another frequently overpowered hero, Superman, who we talked about earlier. Shazam pretty much gets the best traits of many different heroes. The wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, stamina of Atlas, power of Zeus, the courage of Achilles, and the speed of Mercury. Shazam. He's an entire pantheon of powers packed into a single dude, and that's not something to be taken lightly. And apparently he can call in favors from the Man of Steel himself just in case he needs some backup when fighting evil wizards. Even before the Phoenix Force came out in full force, Jean Grey was an exceptionally powerful character. As far as mutants go, telekinesis is a hard one to beat. She's one of the most powerful mutants in the comic books, and that's true in the movies as well. All movie versions of Jean are strong. X-Men Dark Phoenix takes things to the next level. Turns out that our hero's so strong that Professor Xavier had to use his abilities to block off some of her memories. Because the only thing worse than a traumatized child is a traumatized child with incredible psychic powers. But then that nasty Phoenix Force gets involved and things get ugly real quick. Even her fellow mutants are barely a match for Jean at the height of her power, R.I.P. Mystique. Just a hint of Jean's power is enough to make someone impervious to bullets. And we mean a lot of bullets. Oh, and let's not forget that she can straight up cause people to disintegrate during battle. If Jean didn't manage to regain a bit of her true personality back, we could have had another decimation on our hands. Bruce Banner got involved in a workplace accident and ended up having to share his form with the Incredible Hulk, something that caused him a bit of distress. But when Jonathan Osterman had his own workplace snafu, he pretty much became a god. He essentially traded in his interest in humanity for mind-blowing superpowers, and we're definitely not going to say he got a bad deal there. The guy can teleport himself anywhere he wants to go in an instant. He can telekinetically control matter down to the atomic level. Oh, and did we mention that he can see the future? And that's all in addition to seeing the past and the present as well. If he still had the mind of his post-radiation persona, he might feel compelled to meddle with the timeline. But Dr. Manhattan just doesn't really care enough to do it anymore. In fact, he's so #over it that he just goes and chills out on Mars when things get intense on Earth. Dr. Manhattan is way more powerful than anybody else in the Watchmen universe, and we feel 100% confident in saying that. Even if you try to stack him up against more traditional DC or Marvel heroes, we have to admit he'd be hard to beat. If we take Jean Grey as her non-Phoenix powered self, then it seems like Scarlet Witch might just be the most powerful character in this video. Which movie superhero do you think would win in a battle royale? Share your pick with us in the comments section below and then click subscribe for more videos from us here at CBR. Thanks for watching.